The Lord be with you. Welcome to Monday, the day after church. And I want to share with you some things I forgot in my sermon yesterday. And you're saying, oh no, it was long enough. You don't need to share anymore. Pastors always forget stuff. Maybe the hardest part of preaching is determining what not to say. Some Sundays I try to say it all. But I'm sitting in our sanctuary. You see the windows on that side, the pews right behind me, the narthex, the loft. That way is the altar area. What I left out of yesterday's sermon is some architecture talk. I do love our worship space because it's extremely traditional. It's not the stained glass windows that make it traditional, because those are, I think, fairly unique. A nice modern feel, a lot of stained glass windows take you on a trip back in time. These have a more modern flavor to them. The mosaics on our altar, you're not going to find those in a lot of churches. So what makes our sanctuary traditional? I'll try to look above me. You see our roof, our ceiling in an A-frame. It's practical. Nothing stays on that roof. Sure, the snow may stick for a while, but it'll eventually melt and fall off. The rain runs off. So there's some practicality to it. But the roof with that center beam, does it look like an upside down boat? I hope it does. That's long been an image associated with church architecture. How the building looks like a ship. I wanted to bring that out yesterday as we talked about Jesus stilling the storm. And I did bring this out to show you. This may give you a little bit better picture of it. You see Jesus asleep. Few people wondered if that was an angel talking to him, but that's Peter. And that's his robe blowing in the wind. My favorite is St. John, young St. John. You really sense the fear. This is the end. The swirls of the waves of the wind. No fear from Jesus. The disciples, a lot of them were experienced fishermen. I don't know what good Matthew would have done. He was a tax collector. But the disciples knew their way around a boat and a ship. Jesus was gracious to his disciples then, calming the storm, addressing the wind and saying peace. In the epistle reading, St. Paul encourages us not to receive God's grace in vain. God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit is far more gracious than we could ever dream, far more gracious than we could ever hope. In our world today, he is gracious. We know that There are a lot of storms, figurative and literal. Storms rolled through Newark last night. Maybe in your part of the area, there were some downed branches and limbs, even downed trees. You see the detritus of the storm around you. And then certainly the storms in your own life, in the life of your family, friends. You feel blown from one storm to the next. And so the imagery of the church as a ship. The pews behind me, that's where the people sit. What's it called? It's called the nave. Nave. It sounds like it's kind of related to Navy. It is. The people sit in the ship, in an upside down ship. It's where the people gather to hear Jesus speak to them. Peace. Our services are bookended by peace. From invocation to benediction, there's peace. From God for you. Not peace that anyone manufactures, but peace that has its beginning with God and leads you back to Him. So we celebrate what we see and where we are. Because what we see is the Lord. Where we are is in the security of His ship, of His vessel. And we're ready for service. The last point about ships that I'd like to bring up in this sermon part 2 is that God's church is not a cruise ship. Those are nice. Those are fun. They have their place. But the church is not there to cater to your needs, to do whatever you want, whenever you want. The church is more of a mercy ship, those big floating hospitals, or a rescue boat, where other people, their figurative boats, have been dashed against the rocks, and they're in the water clinging to a few pieces of wood, trying to stay afloat. The church in the rescue boat pulls up alongside them, pulls them to safety, tries to care for them. God uses the fleet of Christian churches to care, to attend to those who are in need. God is far more gracious than we could ever imagine. Gracious to us, gracious to all, and He puts us in position to use the boat that we have to take our orders from Him, to receive all good things from Him. So now, finally, yesterday's sermon is done. Check out our YouTube page for more studies, Bible studies, hymn studies, worship services. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again.